Hi, today we're going to look at providing proposals and quotes. So if you're in a business-to-business relationship with another company, it's very likely that you're going to provide a proposal to them at some point to detail some work that you might like to carry out. And proposals can be very complicated, so it's really important to start from the beginning and know exactly what your customers' requirements are, so what they're asking you to do, what do they need. And getting this right is essential, because if you don't know what your customer wants, you won't be able to complete a document to detail how you can service their needs. So if you're unsure about anything, it's very important to ask and clarify. So there's two ways a proposal and quote can come about. So you've got the RFQ, which is a request for quote, and that's basically where the customer lists a specification and invites suppliers to bid for work, and they might have a whole host of supporting information with that. They may have technical specifications, pictures, an endless amount of documentation, and you typically get RFQs on bidding sites. They're quite commonly found on the internet nowadays, and you register with the bidding site and you'll be able to provide responses to quotes that are advertised there. The second is a direct request, and that's typically the more common route, where you may meet with a customer and they may tell you about what they want in a quite informal way. So it's important to do as much information gathering as you possibly can. So you might have documentation, Word documents or anything else, and maybe pictures, drawings, maybe meeting notes, and that's where a document management system can really come into the fore. So you can store all this information along with your electronic copy of your quote. So you may have several people working on the quote, and they'll be able to refer back to this information, and you'll be able to store that all in one place. Now, if there's anything you don't understand, do contact the customer, but by storing this information you'll save yourself any embarrassment, so you don't ask the customer the same question twice. And not just for the quote itself, but during the fulfillment of the order, and even in the invoicing stage, when you eventually submit your bill once your work's done, the customer may want to refer back to your original quote. So it's really important to have all that information together. Whenever you've done a quote, always make sure you follow it up. So the best way to do that is to log every quote and every quote item you've got. And a system like Camis Online, that's a very easy thing to do, but if you're not using a system like that, you can just do it in a spreadsheet. So if you haven't heard back from a customer from a recent quote in a while, give them a call in a few weeks' time and find out why. Is there a problem with the quote where you're unsuccessful, and just make a note of the status of them. Is it lost? Why was it lost? Was it lost on delivery date, price, the quality of the response, or anything else? And that will help you in the future sort of tune up any other quotes that you produce for that customer. And it will also just help you follow up any stale inquiries as well. So do log them and do follow them up. And whenever you complete a quote, do remember the scope. That's really important. So say what is included in the scope, but also say what isn't. And a good example of that might be if you've been given a request to clear out and provide an old computer system, and you wanted to say that the actual removal of that old computer system was out of scope of your quote, so you were just providing a quote for the fitting, do make sure you mention that, to say what's out of scope as well. And when you're completing your documents, I personally find it best to break it down, and I don't personally total them myself, because I may be presenting a number of options for the customer. So there may be, say, 3 options to do a similar thing, and if I total that quote, obviously the customer's just going to pick one of those 3 options. If I totaled it, then it would make the quote look overly expensive. So consider if you need to provide a total. If there's just a few things on it, the customer will be able to do that themselves. State which are options as well, and make that very clear. And make sure you get the level of detail right as well. Don't put a big weighty document together, you know, if the customer's going to find that too time consuming or awkward to read. So, you know, do be careful with the level of detail. You know, if you've done work for the customer before, then there's no need to put a lengthy introduction together about your about how your company can fulfill the work. You know, just concentrate on what's needed. Appendixes are a great way as well if you need to put supplementary information in. So, you know, if you've got lots of say specifications or references or things like that, do appendix them as well, so the customer can look at them if they're needed. You know, but they're there. So, best of luck with it, and just remember, most important thing is finding out what the requirements are and making sure you write down how you can fulfill those requirements.